Thank you, Mr. Kurtz. I am Nate Kimbrough. My goal here today, guys, is not to bore you to death. I got off work at 2:40, so I am here on my own, just volunteering because I really believe in this presentation. A couple things I want to tell you just right off the get. Don't worry, I'm not going to read to you today, okay? I'm sure all of you can read, so I'm not here to read to you. We're not married to the PowerPoint. This is a guide. I am not here to go through every PowerPoint slide and say, there we go, we're done today. What the goal here today is just to get a message across, guys. And that's really what my goal is. Like Mr. Kurtz said, I am working on my PhD. This has been a rapport and building rapport. And I know you might think, that's another buzzword. It's another buzzword. I'm not here to bore you with buzzwords. What I am here to do is, this is what I'm going to do for you today. I'm going to offer you some strategies, but I'm not necessarily going to go through them all. This presentation, the genesis of this, was originally designed for about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half meeting, which we are not going to do here today. Don't worry about that. All right, so it's all good. All right, I will tell you this. It's uploaded to Office 365. All the strategies and interventions are on there. If you want to, feel free to go on, look at them, and look at them at your own leisure. What I want to bring to you is what you can't get off the slides, that you can't just read off the slides. I want to bring that to you in a little bit different of a way. Today I have a couple of videos I'm going to show you. They're just real short. And I do at the very end have an audio clip, which I know is a little bit rare for a presentation to just listen to something. But I think when you hear the audio clip, it'll make sense to you, okay? So with that, guys, we're going to fly through a couple slides. We're going to take our time with one or two. And we're just going to make sure we get this message out. You'll see what I'm talking about here shortly. And I won't keep you, I promise. All right, basically what you're going to see, guys, one thing I will tell you, everything you see today, every strategy, every intervention, whether I fly through it, whether you go back and look at it later, is supported by empirical research. Believe me, I know I had to look all this stuff up and type all this stuff out about it, and it was, so trust me, it's all supported by research. I have plenty of references if you're one of those people that just like to read the actual journal articles. Hit me up, email me, and I'll be glad to email those to you. All right, so a couple things about rapport before we get going. A couple things I just want you to think about while we're sitting here. I always ask a couple questions before I get started. What does rapport mean to you? Might not mean a lot to you right yet, but once we start talking about it, just think about that. How would you define rapport? Now, what does it look like to you? What does rapport actually look like? What does that mean? Is it a buzzword? It doesn't really matter. Okay? And one thing when I go into every presentation, when I go into teaching, this is one thing I think about. What do I remember about the people who made a difference in my life? What do I remember? And guys, this quote from Maya Angelou is not, and you'll see there's going to be a lot of word salad on these slides. Don't try to read it all, okay? There's some highlighted stuff in red. Read that if you like. Otherwise, I'll describe it to you. But this quote is one of my favorite quotes, and I'm sure you've all heard it if you've been in education long enough. And this is actually my goal for you today. Not for students, but for you. All right, and that is, they may forget your name, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And you may forget who I am. You may forget some of the things that I say here today, but by the end of this thing, and it will make sense to you then, I hope you remember how this made you feel. That's my goal. All right, if you're a data head, I call them data heads. If you're a data head, you like data, don't worry. There's plenty of data that supports all this stuff. If you're not into a big presentation about data, you're in luck today. All right, because I'm not here to tell you a bunch of stuff about data. Although data supports all this stuff, we're going to get down to a little bit more of a human level, where the rubber meets the road, kind of like where I come from. By the way, I should get that out of the way. If you hear a twang, evidently I have an accent where I'm from. I don't know that, okay? I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina originally. I'll get to that. Oh, there you go. So I had to lick my wounds all week last week after Super Bowl. But this is not a meeting about data. We're going to focus on the people who provide the data, okay? We're going to focus on the people who are educating the people who provide the data. That's what we're here to do. And you're going to see some words here. It's not going to make sense to you. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to provide it for you. My wife, as Mr. Kurtz said, she hates this part of the program because I brag about her. She's only seen this presentation one time, so she gets so embarrassed for me. But my wife, Erin, she started right out of college. We went to UNC Wilmington together. And that's how I got up here. She got right out of college. She got into Calvert High School. She was an American government teacher right off, 22 years old. And my wife was a real go-getter. Now, the one thing about my wife there's a million things I admire about her. But I remember this, and back then, this is when they were starting the HSAs. And here we go, right? HSAs. Now, she was a new teacher. She had not established herself yet. So her pool of students was 170 deep. No AP students, no honor students. She just hadn't established. Mostly co-taught, and then some Gen A, some General Ed. That's all she had. All right? She had 170 students. And guys, I remember the day that she got the phone call in June to discuss the passing rate of the 170 kids that she had tested that year. It went something like this. She got a phone call sitting at the house. Back when we actually had landlines at home. She answered her phone. She's like, yeah, hello? Okay. Okay. All right, who was it? Okay. All right, thank you. Goodbye. And that was basically the conversation. Now, I don't get in all my wife's business, but I was like, hey, babe, who was that? She was like, oh, that's the core lead just telling me how I did on my test. And I said, okay, well, how'd you do? And she said, well, I got out of 170, 169 passed. Now, I don't know how y'all act when y'all get good news, okay? But if I had tested 170 students and 169 of them passed, Mr. Weber, who's my principal, I'd be river dancing on his desk. He would know, everybody in that building would know exactly how well I did because they would hear it from that office, all right? But my wife didn't act that way. My wife asked one question. Who was it? And so I asked her, I said, why did you ask that question? She said, I wanted to know who was the one that didn't pass. And at 23 years old, my wife just showed me what it really means to be an educator. So in that moment, one thing my wife realized, so we go over achievement gaps, guys. I know I'm not going to give you a whole ton of buzzwords today, but we go over achievement gaps and stuff. And I've even told some of my supervisors this. The way I feel like, personally, the way I feel like that we can fix achievement gaps, chronic absenteeism, those types of things, is stop paying attention to it. And they're like, well, Mr. Nate, you're going crazy. We're talking about not paying attention to achievement gaps. How are you going to close achievement gaps? You don't pay attention to it. My wife did not go into that year to close achievement gaps. She went into that year to make a difference. She invested, and this is a very key word, she genuinely invested in those kids, and they knew it. So these kids who had no reason to like American government were going to try, not because they wanted to do well on an HSA, but because they knew she cared. And they wanted to reciprocate. See, Erin knew, my wife knew, when you focus in on all this will take care of itself. When you focus in on the bigger picture, the little stuff starts to fall in place. There's an analogy I use. I love to play golf. I'm a glutton for punishment. I like to go out and try to play golf. All right, I'm a self-taught golfer. I'm from old country. I'm the only person that doesn't live in Greensboro, North Carolina, that has my last name. My father's old country. They didn't take me golfing. The greatest man I ever knew, loved him to death. Didn't take me golfing. That's not what we did. All right. So what my father did, he taught me some things. He taught me some things about life, but not golf. So I taught myself how to play golf. And as I got a little bit better, I would go to the golf course, and some of the older guys that played, they'd be like, Nate, come play with us. And so I don't know if y'all know anything about golf, but in golf you can play 1,000 different ways. There's match play, there's stroke play, there's wheel, there's a million different. I didn't know any of them. But I knew this. At 17 years old, I'm standing up there with a whole bunch of 50-year-old men betting money. I don't have any money to bet. They're all betting money. But I knew this, no matter what game we were playing, if I played well, we had a good chance of winning. I knew that if I took care of this, all of this would take care of itself. So that's what my wife understood then. That's what I still try to implement today. All right, so let's get going. Oh, this is going to be a fun little fun thing. All right, real quick. How do we approach problem behavior? Now, don't pay too much attention to the staff part. All right, we're going to talk about that too. I will tell you this, guys. This presentation is broken down in two parts. This is for what you can use with your colleagues and your students. And the second half, which is my favorite part, is what you can use for yourself. All right, one thing I realized 7 years ago, Mr. Kurtz was talking to, when I used to do some presentations about 6, 7 years ago, I had a lot of people come to me and say, Nate, man, I know somebody that could really benefit. That was a great presentation. I know somebody that could really benefit from hearing that. And I'm like, yeah, that's good, but I wanted you to benefit from hearing it. You know, I didn't want you to know somebody. I was hoping you would benefit from it, right? So my goal here today is for you to be able to take something for yourself when you leave here today. All right, real quick, how do we approach problem behavior as opposed to problem academics? Real quick, when you have a student in class, I'm going to use high school, that's where I'm from. I don't mean to insult you guys, it just helps me with my example. All right, in high school, if we have a student that adds 4 plus 4 equals 9, what do we do as teachers? Well, obviously, that student is missing some processes. So what we do is we dive in, we want to find out what's going on. Why are we not adding this right? And in high school, we know we're going to scaffold a lot more than that. So we need not only do we need you to know 4 plus 4 equals 8, we need you to know it like immediately so we can build on that. All right? So we dive in, we listen, we understand, we try to understand the student, and we work with the student. All right? Same student. This time, instead of doing a problem in academics, they do a problem in behavior. Do we approach problems with behavior the same way we approach problems in academics? I can tell you, in my own experience, typically not. Because we get mad. All right? I taught BDP for 12 years. I got mad. There's times I got mad. I didn't sit down with the kid and realize what processes is this child missing. I didn't sit down and try to figure out what is going on. Why is this student feeling this way? Now, 12 years in, I know that there are times where students come to school hungry, or where they have, I had an instance one time where I had a student whose house was raided at 6 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't live with dad, lived with mom. Mom was going out in handcuffs because she was dealing drugs, and the sheriff's deputy, bus pulled up in front of all his peers, had to put him on the bus to come to school. Kid gets to school, this was about 9 years ago, back then you couldn't have a cell phone on a high school campus. Flipped out a cell phone as soon as he got off the bus, and administrator sees the cell phone, kid gets in trouble, kid never had a chance. All right, so it's just us understanding the behavior, some of our kids, and it just shows how important it is. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fly through a couple things. All right, one thing, I know y'all are like, oh my goodness, of course you implement high academic standards. That's one strategy. It's a very proven strategy. We're going to get through the strategies real quick. Definitely hold your kids up to a higher standard. And guys, let me tell you something. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to look foolish in front of your students. I look foolish on a regular basis. That's my life. It happens all the time. And I'm still here. I'm still going. I'm still trying. It doesn't bother me. And not only that, this is one thing I even tell kids. Whatever it is you are into, not your friends, but you. I don't know many of you in here. I just told you I'm into golf. All right, I don't know if you're into music. I don't know if you're into food. I don't know if you're into working out. I don't know what you're into. All right, but just think this. Think of somebody in your brain right now who embodies success in whatever field it is that you are into. All right, so maybe if you're in computers, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, whatever. And then I would ask you to remember this. Out of those people that you're thinking about, in whatever field you're into, how many of you think they got it right the first time? Almost none of them. Matter of fact, I do have one quick little video I'm going to show you. This is actually located on YouTube. You can show your kids this too. Some of these you're going to know, some you might not know. It's going to be a surprise. This is called Famous Failures.
After being cut from his high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. He wasn't able to speak until he was almost 4 years old, and his teachers said he would never amount to much. Was demoted from her job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television. Fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. At age 11, he was cut from his team after being diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency, which made him smaller in stature than most kids his age. At 30 years old, he was left devastated and depressed after being unceremoniously removed from the company he started. A high school dropout whose personal struggles with drugs and poverty culminated in an unsuccessful suicide attempt. The teacher told him he was too stupid to learn anything, and that he should go into a field where he might succeed by virtue of his pleasant personality. rejected by Decca Recording Studios, who said, "We don't like their sound. They have no future in show business." His first book was rejected by 27 publishers. His fiancée died, failed in business, had a nervous breakdown, and was defeated in 8 elections. If you've never failed, you've never tried anything new.
And I love that for obvious reasons, guys. I mean, it hits on so much. And I show that to almost every presentation. I present to elementary school kids, believe it or not, all the way up to, I've spoken at several universities, and of course adults. So it does apply. One thing about my disclaimer to all of this is that what you're going to see today, and if you go into Office 365, when you look at it, the one disclaimer I will say is this. These are pretty general and can be applied to a variety of settings. But just like all of you, I don't know what motivates you personally. I don't know what you get down for, like what gets you going. All right? And that would take time, investment of time. So please know that these are just some broad things to do, but you're going to need to get to know your students and your staff in order to get these things to really come to life, so to speak. All right, real quick, providing incentives and rewards. Again, just knowing your kids, knowing what's appropriate. Again, I'm going to kind of go through these a little bit fast. All right. This is one of my favorite slides. Modeling behavior. All right, we must model as teachers, and I say we because I'm in this too. All right, and there's days, guys, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. My daughter's done this. Me and my wife, we didn't sleep well, whatever it may be. But we have to model with the behaviors we desire to see. Because I'll tell you this, guys, it means a lot. Okay, we can't say one thing, that whole do as I say, not as I do is completely inapplicable. It is not supported by research, and it takes effort to do this, especially days you don't feel like it. And I know we are in a time of the year we don't feel like it. All right, I can speak for myself anyway. All right, so one thing I do want to tell you real quick is that it does take that effort, guys. It takes that effort to dig in deep some days, and I know. You might, it's just another motivational speaker telling me to dig deep. No. Let me tell you an instance one time when I saw effort, the first time in my life. This is the first time in my life I saw effort personified. I'd heard it as a kid, but I never knew what it meant. All right, again, like I said, I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. When I was in 5th grade, I saw what effort looked like personified. All right, down in Greensboro, North Carolina, I guess y'all have them here in elementary school, we had this thing called the Presidential Fitness Award. Okay, now I loved it. I was a big active kid when I was younger. I liked to do it, and part of the Presidential Fitness Award was pull-ups. We were going to see how many pull-ups you could do. That's the way it was back then. Well, I got right here. If you see effort, you see this young man right here. He ain't young anymore. Jason Ward. All right, Jason Ward was a student I went to school with all through high school. I mean, all through elementary, middle school, and high school. Well, Jason was last to go on the pull-ups. I was next to last. Well, in 5th grade, I was kind of in my prime. I was real skinny. You know what I'm saying? I had some muscles. You know what I'm saying? So I was all excited to do the pull-up. I couldn't do a lot because I was so skinny. Couldn't play football because they just knocked me right off the ball. But I could do some pull-ups. I was jazzed up to get the pull-ups in that day. So I get up there and I'm intentionally waiting to last so I can see what the bar set at, so I don't have to go, too crazy, right? So a kid had done 10 pull-ups. So I get up there, I start banging them out, right? And that 10 pull-ups in 5th grade's pretty good. I got to 11. I dropped off that bar, I was puffing my chest out, what you got? Only kid left? Jason Moore. Looking at Jason what you got? You ain't gonna read that. Well, I shouldn't have said that, all right? Jason gets up on that pull-up bar and starts banging these things out. Never seen a 5th grade kid do this. Now, he went on to be a professional bodybuilder, so it all kind of makes sense now. But in the moment, I didn't know that was going to happen. So my humble pie tasted really good. So he gets up there, and I'm not joking with you. He ended up knocking out 22 pull-ups in 5th grade. Never seen such a thing. But I'm here to tell you guys, I don't remember Jason Ward and effort because he did 22 pull-ups that day. That was 5th grade. I didn't know nothing. I would have been a forgetful memory. Would have never remembered. The only reason I remember that day is his effort at number 23. See, it didn't bother Jason. He didn't care he had doubled up 2nd place. He wasn't out there to see if he could double me up. He wasn't out there to see what he could do comparatively speaking. He wanted to know how many pull-ups he could do. Now, for anybody that's ever done a pull-up, when you start on that last one and you do your last one, you pretty much know that's your last one. Like, there's no negotiating, there's no, I think I can dig down deep. There's nope, not going to happen. Thanks for letting me try. You know, you got to give about 3-4 mental seconds of trying, and you go ahead and say, let's just move on. Jason sat there for 30 seconds. Now, that might not seem like a long time to you, but we sat there, the coach had to pick him up off the ball because he wasn't letting go. He just dangling. By the end of it, he wasn't even getting his elbows bent. He was just dangling. His face red, his veins popping out of his forehead. You know, and I saw then what real effort looked like. He was measuring himself against one person and one person only, and it sure as heck wasn't me. It was himself. And that taught me, and sometimes, guys, I'm just being honest with you, I think about Jason, obviously, 5th grade. I think about Jason sometimes when I'm at work. Because sometimes I know when I'm not giving it everything I got, it could end up, I could be passing up an opportunity to make a difference in a young person's life. And I know that sounds really intense, but in my professional experiences, it's true. So let's move right along here. Again, this is one thing I really wish we could do with people, guys, and I'm going to go through this real quick. Self-esteem. I know adults that I wish I could just bottle self-esteem and just give it to them. I just wish, much less kids. Because so many of us have our gifts that we don't use because we're not confident in the gift. And we don't have that self-esteem. And I say that to the kids, I say it to adults, and I just wish I could bottle it, put it in a drink, give it to kids, give it to adults. I really think it'd make a big difference in this world. So when you're teaching, when you're around people, even when you're with your colleagues, help build up their self-esteem. It helps. It helps all that. You're not making them cocky. I don't think you are anyway. You know? You're helping them because we all like it. It helps us all. It's not easy to stand up in front of 50 people I don't know and give these presentations. But the reason why I do it is because I believe in it, and I have, at least in this, the self-esteem to do so. And it's not that I'm, woo, way to go. It's that I feel like I can help if I use this gift. So please use your gifts. All right. Moving right on. All right, got a quick video I'm going to show real quick. I wanted to show the power, guys, that if you actually believe change can happen in your own life and with kids. Fine? I don't want to go down the spiritual road, okay? I wanted to find an example of what is the true power of believing in something. Is it really powerful? Is it real? Is it something that can actually happen? And if so, I need an example to show to you. And I found one. Has anybody in here ever heard of a gentleman named Roger Bannister? It's okay if you hadn't. I hadn't either until I saw this. Or a guy named Jim Braddock. Now, Jim Braddock you may have heard of if you're into movies, or especially if you're into sports movies, because they did a movie about Jim Braddock. Russell Crowe played it. He was a boxer, okay, right after the Great Depression. He went from up here to down here, okay? And so I found in this video, and what I want you to do is I want you to watch this video about 5 minutes. I know it's a little bit. I want you to listen to it. And it's going to show you the power of belief. I don't get it. Like I say, I have a couple quotes I like. I don't have a ton of them. This right here is my favorite quote I've ever read. By Mark Twain. The two most important days of your life are the day that you were born and the day you find out why. And I believe that. And I would even argue that that second one is just as important as the first one. Otherwise, we are wasting our time. And we are on autopilot. And there's nothing worse. Don't get me wrong, guys. We all go through human emotions. So it's one thing to go through human emotions. Just be careful where you park. Where you park your emotions. All right, so I want you to take a quick look at this one. About our two guys.
Before April 1954, the common belief, the universal belief, because it had been tried again and again and again and people had failed, the belief was that man was not physically capable of breaking the 4-minute barrier, that he could not run a mile in less than 4 minutes. When something happens to them, they begin to believe that that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And they can't see the possibility of it being any different.
450 yards to go, and Bannister takes over. Watch his giant stride take him to the front as he races the last lung-bursting...
Roger Bannister came along, and he broke the 4-minute barrier. Since that time, up to this day, Over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. 20,000 people. What changed? Here's what happened when they got on the track. They knew it had been done. And because they knew it had been done, there was a new belief about this barrier that was unreachable. And those 20,000 people got in a race believing, knowing in their heart that someone had done it, that it's possible that they could do it. If someone can make that dream become a reality, then you can make your dream become a reality. Eyesight and mindsight. Eyesight is judging on what you see. Judging according to appearances. But mindsight is how you interpret what you see. One guy said, it's not possible, it's over, I'm finished. I can't do it. I can't make it. He surrendered. I've faced rejection again and again. I'm not going anymore. There are no jobs out there. But this other guy, he felt that in spite of the no's and rejections, in spite of how bad the economy is, in spite of what the newspapers are saying, that it's possible that somebody somewhere will give me a job. He just kept going, thinking it was possible. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's what we have to do with our dreams. Because things happen to you in life that you can never, ever anticipate. And many times when those things happen, you want to give up. Easy is not an option. It's hard living. Life is hard. See, it's hard when you are 49 years old, been working on a job for 17 years, and they come in and tell you you're finished and give you 1 week severance pay. You got to start all over again. It's hard handling just the tragedies of life. It's hard. When you're working on something and you put everything you have in it, and it doesn't work out, you lose your money and other people's money. You know what I discovered? When you're working at your dream, somebody said the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. It's good to you. Why? See, what you become in the process is more important than the dream. That's far more important. The kind of person you become, the character that you build, the courage that you develop, the faith that you're manifesting. Oh, it's something that you get up in the morning, you look yourself in the mirror, you're a different kind of person. You walk with a different kind of spirit. You've got to have that kind of courage, that type of determination. If you want to make it happen, it's you. But you've got to take personal responsibility to make it happen. You must have faith. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your abilities. You've got to believe in your service, your company, your ideas, unquestionably. You've got to have faith. And that faith gives you patience. It's not going to happen as quickly as you want it to happen. It's your dream. If you want to have it, get your butt up and make it happen. If you want to have it, rise and rise.
I dare you not to go back to sleep. I dare you to get up, and I dare you to chase your dream.
It's possible you can win. Whatever comes to you, don't run from it. Don't try and duck it like most people do. Step toward it. You want to make your dream come true, you got to stay focused. Some people rather get even than get ahead. Stay focused on where you want to go. Where are you going with your life?
I think that is one of the best videos I've seen, and especially the first half of that, I really couldn't explain any other way. All of a sudden, in 60 years, nobody had broken a 4-minute mile, and all of a sudden, in 60 years, 20,000 people did. And everything that I read and research is not too flattering about how active people have gotten in the last 60 years. So it's just been odd. When you look at that, it's the change of belief system. And guys, we're going to fly through a couple of these again. I want you to, when I say see the forest through the trees real quick, guys, all I'm talking about your students. I have had a student before show up to class with green hair and a neck tattoo on the first day. I'm thinking, here we go. Here we go. This kid right here, neck tattoo and green hair. And then after I kind of talked to him for a little bit, and after we got to know each other, what I realized was his green hair that day, it took me about a year before we could actually have this conversation. His green hair that day was actually in honor of his brother who had died 2 years before right in front of him. His neck tattoo was for his grandmother who raised him. Now, I'm not saying that's the way I would have gone about it, but I understand. I was able to see the forest through the trees. And the last thing right here, guys, the gentleman you heard in that video are Les Brown and a guy named Eric Thomas. Eric Thomas has one of these things where I really get down with. It's opportunity versus obligation. This year, I'm sure like many of you, Mr. Weber, my principal, came to me and he told me all these new subjects I was going to be teaching after 12 years teaching. I didn't know I was going to have new subjects to teach, but I did. All right? And when I first saw my schedule, I panicked. I was like, oh my God, I got 7 preps and 7 periods. One of them's got to be a planning period. How am I going to do this? And I went out and talked to Rick, and I said, Rick, what's the deal? I make you mad? I do something I didn't know? Well, come on now. And so he was like, no, Nate. He explained to me the whole situation. He says, I you the best I got. And so we talked it out for about an hour. And I'm like sitting there complaining. And finally I remembered this, the opportunity versus the obligation. And once I remembered that, I sat there and talked to Rick. I said, Rick, let me ask you something before I left. If I complain more, will it change? And he said no. So my last comment was, well, then we're going to have to find a way to make it work. And guys, I'll tell you right now, the classes that I didn't think I'd really take to are the ones that I love the most. I have to pull myself off of them now to make sure I give all my other classes the right attention. But just from a simple change of perspective. And another thing too, guys, this is one of my favorite pictures. Eric Thomas uses this in one of his presentations I love. Sometimes, guys, when we do have problem students and problem staff, we kind of have a preconceived notion how long it'll take to get to them. And sometimes I've had staff members come to me like, Nate, you don't know this kid. I spent 6 months helping this kid. He's shown me nothing but disrespect. And I'm like, how do you know you're not that close? How do you know that? And they don't. And neither do I. So you say like, Nate, you mean tell me I got to give 7 months? I'm telling you, you got to give as much as it takes. And sometimes you got to give a mile before you can take an inch. And that's one of the sayings I really love. Sometimes I just feel that way. And like I say, it's a very simple drawing, but it speaks volumes. All right, so remain consistent. I'm going to kind of go through these. Obviously, be friendly, outgoing, using humor. Remember, guys, go back, read these. I don't want to keep you here any longer than you have to be. One quick thing I will say this, in building healthy interpersonal relationships. Okay, this is in research, this is in adults, kids, whoever. This is human being stuff. All right? Some of you guys might know who Tony Dungy is. If you don't, I'm going to give you a brief explanation. He's a guy that won the Super Bowl as a coach for the Indianapolis Colts about 10 years ago. All right? He won the Super Bowl. Tony Dungy has also written several books. I encourage you to read them. They're actually very good. One of his books, he has a chapter entitled Platforms. Well, a lot of people know that Tony Dungy won a Super Bowl. A lot of people know that Peyton Manning was the quarterback when he did so, because that's what we do. We love our NFL. But what a lot of people don't know is that within 2 years of winning the Super Bowl, Tony Dungy's 20-year-old son committed suicide. Okay? Now, that is enough to drive anybody. Like I said, I'm a parent. That's the worst possible nightmare anybody could experience. And nobody would have blamed Tony Dungy if he'd have gotten knee-deep into a bottle of Jim Beam into a 20-year early grave. Nobody would have blamed him. It would have been a tragedy, but nobody would have been like, the dots would connect. You would understand it at least. But what Tony Dungy instead is use a platform, and this is his word, not mine. He used a platform he never asked for, no parent would ever want. And what he does now is he actually counsels young people who are contemplating suicide, and he counsels parents of young people who are contemplating suicide. Again, a platform he never wanted. I've got platforms in my life I wish I never had. I've made mistakes in my life, and I share them with my young people that I wish I'd never done. And the reason Mr. Kimbrough, you share some of that? Yeah, I share. Not on the first day. We work up to it. But yeah, I share that to them because I want them to know we're not perfect. And I use that platform, and hopefully my mistakes will help you be successful. And you can learn from them. I mean, like I say, I don't want to keep you here too long. Again, read through these guys. These are great. These are some just additional strategies. And I'm going to pop through here. All right, this is your portion of the program, my favorite part, okay? So you see there's not a lot of words on these, so you probably love these slides too. All right, first of all, this is to help you keep a healthy mindset in your life. And I know some of y'all looking at me like, how do you know? Guys, this is what I use. This is what I do. All right, couple things. First of all, be aware who you hang out with. I know that sounds like something you might want to tell teenagers. No, I'm telling y'all, because I have to be aware of it too. There are people that I've hung out with, that I even work with, that are very negative people. They're just negative. They're not bad people. They're good people. They're just negative. And I wish them the best, don't get me wrong, but I can't grow in that environment. So what I do is I'm still polite, I'm still nice, but here's what I know. When you hang around people long enough, one of two things is happening. Either you're having an effect on them, or they're having an effect on you. And you just need to be conscious of that. If you're hanging out with the right people, you know what I'm talking about. Same people that just jazz you, just glad to see them in the morning. You know, everybody laughs at me like, man, well, you Mr. Positive. Like, I try to be. I mean, I got stuff going on in my life. I want everybody to know, but I try to be because I want to bring it every day. Now, I got to put this in here. This is for my father that I was telling you about. Now, he's 73 years old. He's country. He wears, flannel and suspenders and stuff. So, he didn't talk a lot. All right. This is one piece of advice that he gave me about 8 years ago when I was making a big life change in my life. I was losing a lot of friends because of this life change I was making. And so I made this big life change. It was a healthy thing. It was a good thing. And I remember my dad was on the phone. He still talks to me. I'm 37 years old. He still talks to me sometimes like I'm 15, and it just rings true. It can just rip right to my soul sometimes. And I was on the phone while Skyping with him. He said, Nate, I've never been big into hunting black sheep in my family. I'm not into NASCAR hunting, nothing against it, just not my thing. But he did take me hunting, trying to get me into it at some point. And he told me one time, he said, I took you hunting. He said, you ever seen turkeys? I said, you ever seen turkeys, Nate? I said, yes, sir, I've seen turkeys. You know I've seen turkeys. I was with you, Dad. He said, you live up near D.C. He said, you ever seen bald eagles? Yeah, I've seen them too, Dad. You ever see them two together? I said, no, I haven't. And he said, when you want to start doing eagle stuff, you ain't going to be able to hang around with turkeys. And when he told me that, it's very simple. It's very country. I get that. But it made sense. It made sense. He said, the guys that are falling out of your life right now because you made a good decision are the turkeys. The ones that are picking your hands up, pulling you up to them, those are your eagles. Those are who you surround yourself with. And that's one thing that I've always remembered. And the last thing with negativity, guys, don't drink the poison. I heard a famous columnist for the Washington Post say one time that Mike Wise, he said, drinking poison is basically like you drinking engaging in negativity. It's like you drinking poison and waiting for somebody else to die. That's what happens. When you engage in negativity, it's like you drinking poison and you're waiting on somebody else to die. All right? Because half the time, guys, I'm just here to tell you, half the time they don't know and the other half the time they don't care. So really the only person that's getting killed in all this is the person that's drinking the poison. All right? I've seen people who are miserable before they even hit their alarm clock in the morning. Like they're already telling themselves, well, this day is not going to go well. And I'm not saying there can't be problems again. I'm saying these are the mentality and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. All right. I got to get through some of this real quick. I'll hold off on that. All right. Can I get you just to turn this one little bit up, Mr. Curse, if you don't mind? All right, real quick, guys. I know I've only got a few more minutes here, so I want you to watch this video, and then I'm going to finish up real quick. But I wanted to turn this up. This is the audio clip. Okay. Yeah, I don't know yet. I threw you for a loop. This is the audio clip. Now, I am going to ask that over the next few minutes you just listen to this audio clip. And what it is Les Brown talking about when he was a kid. Les Brown is one of the most prolific motivational speakers in the world. He has been asked to go all over the place. He was not, when in high school he was not a good student. He talks about what turned him. I asked at the beginning of this, why do you get up? What gets you going? We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to close with that. We all good? All right, thank you. So this is the audio clip. Again, this is the only one I couldn't embed actually into the presentation. It's just me. I'm good to go. Yes. And it's just simply entitled, I'm the One.
But I remember This high school teacher, Mr. Leroy Washington, at the end of school one June, it was just a few days before we were supposed to leave, and I just got my report card, and it indicated that I failed history, and I failed English, and I would have to go to summer school. And I was feeling within myself that I was a failure, that I'm slower than most people in getting paperwork, and I was feeling down on myself and very negative. And Mr. Washington was giving a speech to the graduating seniors, and I was in 11th grade. And even though I wasn't supposed to be in there, I went in there because the speech he was giving, that speech was for me. And as he talked, my heart began to beat fast. Tears began to run down my eyes, and I was in the back just listening to him because he said, and he was a very dramatic man. I still talk to him to this day. He said, as graduating seniors of Booker T. Washington High School, I want you to know that you're blessed and highly favored, and that as you go toward the future, begin to know that you have greatness within you. And if just one of you here begin to envision yourselves as being blessed and highly favored to reach your goals, if just one of you capture the essence of what that means, that you have greatness within you and a responsibility to manifest that greatness, that you can make your parents proud, you can make your school proud, you can touch millions of people's lives, and the world will never be the same again because you came this way. And the students gave him a rousing standing ovation. And as he left the auditorium, I ran down the steps and I caught him in the parking lot. I said, Mr. Washington? He said, yes. I said, do you remember me, sir? He said, no. I said, my name is Leslie Brown. My mother, she works in the cafeteria here. I'm one of the twins, Leslie and Wesley. I said, Mr. Washington, but you know, I got these big dreams. You know, I like talking to people. I love people. He said, I want to work with people, and I got this dream of buying my mama a home. Could I do that, Mr. Washington? He said, it's possible, Mr. Brown. And as he walked away, I called him again. I said, Mr. Washington? He said, what do you want now? I said, I'm the one, sir. I said, I'm the one. You remember me, sir. I'm Miss Maybe Brown's boy. I'm the one. I'm the one.
All right, that is one of the most powerful, and you hear the whole clips I've ever heard. So here's what I'm going to tell y'all. I ask questions at the beginning, not really for y'all. I ask them for myself. The reason why I get up, the reason why I do what I do, is that I want to tell you about my one. Everybody's got one, at least I hope at least one. I'm going to tell you about mine. When I was a senior in high school in Greensboro, North Carolina, I wasn't like normal seniors. I didn't care about partying and any of that. Me and a group of buddies, about 20 of us, we all decided that we wanted to be different in a good way. We decided that we would do things that high school kids don't normally do, like community outreach projects. Volunteer time at St. Jude's Children's Hospital was changing my life. And we decided we would do these things, and we thought that was great. Going into my senior year, I had a lady come up to me. We all met at this community center a lot. The lady had heard about our group. Her name was Martha Taylor. I still talk to her to this day. She came up to me and she said, Nathan, she said, I know you're getting ready to go into your senior year. I have a son who's getting ready to go into his 8th grade year. His name's Jason Taylor. I was wondering if you would mentor him. And in 12th grade, going into 12th grade, I didn't really know what that meant. You know, I knew it meant I was like a role model, but I didn't really know much else. I said, listen, we go and do a lot of stuff. We got to eat, we go bowling, we go to movies, do a lot of wholesome, fun stuff, football games, all that. I'll bring him with me. She said, that would be great. So going into my senior year, going into 8th grade year, Jason, I would bring Jason. He just lived a couple miles from me. I would take him everywhere we went, Jason Taylor. His sister was older, so I always had nicknames for everybody. I called him Little T. I always called him Little T. You know, like, come on, Little T, let's go. Because this little dude, you know, I'm a senior, he's 8th grade. Well, halfway into his 8th grade year, the first semester, his mom calls me. Martha calls me. I'm halfway through my senior year. And she said, Nathan, you're not going to believe this, but Jason's passing all of his classes. which at the time I didn't think was a big deal, because in my house, if you didn't pass the classes, you couldn't do anything else. So I didn't know that this was the first time in his entire school career he had passed every class. I didn't know that, not at the time. So at the end of his 8th grade year, I see Martha again. And Martha, I see her at the community center. Martha says, "You're not going to believe this. He's made AB honor roll." I said, "Oh, snap, here we go. This is good stuff. This is great." So I said, "Jason, you didn't tell me this?" And we're hanging out. We're getting closer, and the rapport's building more and more. Fast forward now to freshman year in high school, me in college. I didn't go directly to UNC Wilmington. I had to transfer down there. I went to a school local to me. So Jason and I kept in touch. Little T and I kept in touch. And so I found out halfway through his 9th grade year, he'd got an honor roll again. I was like, "Man, that's great." Fast forward to the end of his 9th grade year, for the first time in his life, he got straight A's. And the first time in my life, I was struggling academically in college. So we go into his sophomore year. We have mirrored sophomore years. I'm in college and he's in high school. So we go into our sophomore years. He's a shooting star. Every time I talk to people back at the school I went to, he's doing everything right. I'm slipping. I'm not putting in the time I need to put in. And he reminds me of it. 10th grade year, halfway through 10th grade year, straight A's again. I'm struggling. And I'll never forget it. At the end of his 10th grade year, he got straight A's one last time. And we went to dinner, and he was talking to me about it, and I'll never forget the conversation that we had. He just basically reflected everything I'd ever told him about how special I was. It was really weird listening to a sophomore in high school tell me as a sophomore in college how special I was. Especially when I was the one supposed to be mentoring him. At the beginning of his 11th grade year, for some reason that I'll never know, Jason rolled through a stop sign. And he was killed. He was T-boned and he was killed immediately. His mom, even to this day, has a memorial service in every August. On August 24th, every year. His mom, to this day, calls me every August 24th to talk about that memorial service to Little T. And I always tell her the same thing every year. That every time I think of Little T, I look for the kids that come into my classroom. And I look for Jason Taylor. So guys, what I'm telling you is remember why you got into this. Because like Les Brown said, and I'm not saying this to a bunch of graduating seniors, I'm saying it to you. Everybody in this room is blessed, you are highly favored, and you are perfectly positioned to change somebody's life in your walk of life. Please never forget that. Seek your opportunities. Make your differences. I don't say these things because somebody with a PhD told me they work. I say these things to you today because I have seen them work, and I can personally guarantee you they do work. So please, anytime, grab anything you want off Office 365. Remember why we're in this. Remember the opportunities that we do have in front of us every single day. Thank you for your time and attention. I really do appreciate it.